You're grieving your old self. You're grieving your breasts, whether that's because you're fearing death or just the way your life is going to be different. Welcome to Fem MD, real talk for women who are balancing careers, ambition, and the chaos that comes with it all. Today, we have Alex Owens. I am so excited to sit down with you. We've been friends for a while. Mm-hmm. I want to say before we start that I am so excited to talk about a topic that is tough, and I really am thankful upfront for you being open and just providing some wisdom. It's a scary thing that probably we'll all face at some point in our lives.
Hopefully not, but maybe.
Health scares in general.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, just being mortal creatures.
Mm-hmm.
But before we jump in, how was your morning? Tell us a little bit about the chaos that you have every day.
Oh, it's just, that's life as a working mom, So as a 35-year-old working parent, you're just kind of like running around like crazy every day. So trying to manage my 3 and 5-year-olds who, I think it's our youngest that have the same birthday.
Literally right? Born on the same exact
September 13th.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because our shared best friend, Maggie, but was like, oh my God, no way, I'm coming in. Lauren just had her baby. You just had your baby. I'm going to see both babies. It was the best.
And then tell us a little bit about your real estate business.
Yes. So I've been doing real estate for 9 years now, almost 10. And I'm a top producer at Malfer & Associates with Compass Realty Group here in Kansas City. I usually sell, like last year, I sold about 45 million in volume and helped about 95 people buy and sell. So we work very hard, and I've got a little team that kind of helps me that all my clients get serviced and, nothing falls through the cracks or anything.
So when did you first discover that something was wrong? Walk us through that moment.
So literally I was brushing my teeth, and it was actually right after we left a birthday dinner for a mutual best friend, Maggie. I had gone on a girls' night dinner with her and Michelle, and I got home and I was brushing my teeth, and I just kind of had my hand in my armpit like this and was like brushing my teeth, and I must have been like just kind of feeling around or whatever. I don't know if I was cold. Sometimes you're like, ooh, I'm cold. And I felt something that did not feel normal. Mm-hmm. And it was small, but it was hard and it was sharp. And I remember I had an aunt who also had breast cancer twice. And I remember her telling me what hers felt like, and it was like that. And she didn't find hers herself, but when her doctor showed her, she was like, this is what it felt like. You need to know. And so I kind of flipped out,
Yeah, understandably.
I'm sitting there, freaking out because I know what my aunt went through, and I didn't want to go through that, obviously. So I'm like crying, having a panic attack. My husband's like, you're overreacting. And I was like, you're going to feel so bad. I feel so bad for him. Because when we got the diagnosis a couple weeks later, officially, mm-hmm. he felt horrible. It was earth shattering. Obviously, at the time, I had a 3 and a 1-year-old. Charlie was, it was, his birthday is September. This was December. Okay. So literally, he had just started walking. We just finished bottles. And so it all happened very quickly. I felt it in December. I had to wait. I got in like a few days later to get the initial screening at KU, mm-hmm. Women's Specialty Clinic. And right away, the sonographer and the physicians that were there were like, I am so sorry, but you have cancer. And I was like, no way. No. You've got the wrong person.
At the time, you're like, I'm a 3-year-old woman.
33.
Like, yeah. How could I? You guys are wrong. Like,
I was like, well, no. I think you came into the wrong room. I said that to her because I remember she said something to me about like, yes, like I know you had mentioned you had like bloody discharge. And I was like, I never said that. No. You have the wrong person.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, I'm talking to the right person. And I was like, how can you be 100% sure? Are you sure? And she was like, I mean, we need to do a biopsy, but like, I'm 85% sure that you have cancer.
Based on the imaging.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they line you up for a biopsy.
Yes. So then, but this was like right around Christmas. So, I found this like between the 18th and the 21st of December. I found it. They couldn't get me in until I think it was like the 28th or the 29th of December, just because of like where Christmas fell and the weekend and whatever. So they got me in the first option that they could. That's when the imaging showed like, yes, it's very likely that there's something going on. This is not normal.
Highly concerning for malignancy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I had the biopsy done like the next day. But we couldn't get the results back until like right after New Year's. So there was like a couple of days waiting period that was brutal.
Also, how the hell are you celebrating Christmas with your children? Like emotionally.
I had a lot of feelings that Christmas.
Yeah.
And I got in a really bad fight with my dad that Christmas. I remember wrapping Christmas presents like Christmas Eve because I wasn't finished yet, and I have like all these Christmas movies. I'm a big Christmas person, and I like have an order of how I watch my Christmas movies. So weird, I know. But I was watching The Family Stone and wrapping the Christmas presents, and the mom on Family Stone is dying of breast cancer. I don't know if you've ever watched that movie. Great Christmas movie. Amazing ensemble cast.
Too close to home.
Highly recommend. That Christmas, I probably shouldn't have watched it. I broke down, like completely broke down. But, we didn't know. At that point, I hadn't had the imaging yet, right? So we're like, this is pre-imaging, but I just had a feeling.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I would have these feelings and they'd be like, well, I don't know anything yet. I just like feel this lump, right? But my mom, I told my family like, hey, I felt this lump, I'm going to go in. And everybody was like kind of concerned because obviously we've already been through this twice with my aunt and it was rough. Was still with us. She survived. She's doing great, but like, it was not fun. We're very close with her too. She lived up the street from us. And, I remember my mom feeling it and she was like, I don't like that. She was really concerned, So yeah, it was a tough Christmas. New Year's was worse because I had already had the imaging and I knew I probably had cancer. But I didn't want to say anything to anybody yet. Yeah. Didn't want to bring down the vibe. So New Year's was hard. And then right after New Year's, we found out. And it just went really, really quick, but also really slow at the same time.
Yeah.
Those few weeks felt like also an eternity.
Why? Like in what way?
Because you're waiting. You don't have all of your answers yet. And you're just like, okay, I know I have cancer, but now what? And your doctors are just kind of like, well, you've got all of these doctor's appointments that you have to go to. And you need to do all of these tests. And then we'll come up with a plan. And you're just like, by the time you know for sure, especially if you found it yourself and you have this like time period of waiting to know, like, do I have cancer? Do I not? By the time you find out you have it, you're just like, what do I need to do? Like, get it out. What are the next steps? I just want to get, I'm here at the beginning. It's like running a marathon, but you're like, I just want to be at the end of the marathon. I don't want to be here anymore because this is really hard. And it's very emotionally combative and exhausting. And you just wake up every day. And have you ever had something happen to you where you wake up, you have a really hard, like something horrible is happening in your life. And you wake up in the morning and you're like, did that happen? Is this real?
Am I dreaming?
Yeah.
Like what?
Every day.
That wasn't in my book. That wasn't part of my story.
Not on my bingo card. Every day for, that waiting period felt like that. You'd wake up and you'd be like, all right, it's a new day. And then you'd be like, boom, it comes crashing down on you. And you're like, oh, wait, is this for real? Am I dreaming or is this real? So it was just like a couple weeks is the hardest part. And a lot of women will reach out to me, young women usually who've been diagnosed. Unfortunately, I've been in touch with a lot of young women who've recently been diagnosed. Some of them close friends of mine. Yeah. And I always tell them, like, this is the worst part. Like right now, the very beginning, this is the worst part. The not knowing all of the facts, the not knowing the next steps is the worst part. Once you kind of like get your plan of action, for me, and I think for most women that I've met now who are going through this, you're just like, all right, put on my armor, put on my warrior gear. Let's go into battle.
Yeah. And at the time, you mentioned you had told your family, some very close friends. I know that you didn't really tell anybody at work until after everything was done. Walk us through like how you managed to like keep that to yourself and your decision there.
In my job, I'm so client facing every day. And my job is not about me. My job is about my clients. I didn't want to make every time they looked at me or met with me about me. I didn't want to have to like spend, 20 minutes of every appointment talking about me and what I'm going through. I just didn't want to deal with it. And I didn't want to make my clients uncomfortable at the end of the day. And then lastly, I didn't want people to not call me and want to work with me because I was sick.
Yeah.
And I needed to work and I needed the distraction. It was really good for me to have a purpose every day going through that. To not be sitting in my own thoughts constantly, because I think that would have been even harder.
Yeah. Some of the girls that I work with here have been through some tough things and they're like, I'm always like, do you need time off? Like, do you not want to be here today? And they're like, no, I actually like coming to work. It's very distracting for me. So, okay. So then let's fast forward. You get your test, you see all your specialists. Did they present you multiple different options in terms of treatment, or was there a pretty clear, like, this is the way we should move forward?
There was definitely kind of like, here's our recommended path of treatment, but you kind of have a few options within this. And at the end of the day, it was very clear that it was always my choice of what to do. But, I think one of the more common types of breast cancer. So I had hormone positive, HER2 negative, invasive ductal carcinoma. High grade, I think it was grade 3. I only ended up being stage 1B, which was shocking to me. But they couldn't stage me till after surgery, though, they said, because it was quite large. It was, what was it? Like it was over 4 centimeters. It was like, they thought it was 6 centimeters before they did surgery. And we knew it was in at least one lymph node, on my right side. So I, going into surgery, was like, I'm stage 2 or 3. Like, this has spread. I'm screwed. But it only ended up being in, I think, 2 lymph nodes on my right side, which is great. But I also learned, so we did the imaging. They did the mammogram on the right side. And they did this sonography on the right side, and the lymph node was on the right side. They never did a mammogram on the left side because I felt the lump on the right side.
You're like, she needs all the attention. This bitch over here doesn't matter.
Yeah, they were like,
we're over here.
This is where it is. So I had to get a chest MRI to do the biopsy on the lymph node because it's so small.
Okay. When
they did the full chest MRI, they found cancer in the left side as well. So I had a smaller cancer on the left side, but it was cancer. So I had what they call DCIS in situ. So it had not like expanded outside of the milk duct yet, but the cancer was already forming in the milk duct on this side, which I think they basically call stage 0.
Yeah.
So I had like stage 0 on the left side, but stage 1B on the right. At first they were like, okay, your options are, we're going to recommend at least a single mastectomy on the right side. And it's up to you if you want to keep your left boob, but like, you're going to be uneven. They're not going to match.
They've already proven to be problematic here.
Exactly. You have a family history.
Yeah.
Right. So she was like, it's kind of up to you. And at the time, we were about to start trying for a third baby right before I found out that I had cancer. So I was like in this mode of, but what if I want another baby? Could I still breastfeed if I keep one?
Okay.
I don't know. And my husband's like, take them. Like, just, I don't want to be a single parent, and I'm also thinking like, okay, so my aunt, she had a single mastectomy on the right side. She had very similar cancer to me. 10 years later, she had a new incidence of cancer on the left side. And I was like, ugh, I don't want to do that. And I will be really mad at myself because I've got these 2 little kids that I got to be around for. If I didn't kind of do the most aggressive thing and then it came back, I think that mentally for me, and that's what my doctors kind of said, they were like, you just need to do what's best for you mentally and decide what's best. Some people, like, that might happen and they're still going to feel like they did the right thing. Other people are going to be like, why didn't I just do what I could have done? Yeah. And that's how I am. So I was like, okay, I was already kind of thinking I was probably going to do the double mastectomy. But once we found out that I had that, my doctor was like, I mean, we can do a lumpectomy, but I was like, just take them.
Yeah. So then you mentioned that you guys were thinking about a third baby.
Mm-hmm.
Cancer treatment obviously has an impact on your potential fertility. So walk through, I know that you did some egg retrieval and freezing, walk through that, like, decision and process. It sounds like it probably wasn't a hard decision initially because you and Jason were already thinking about potentially having a third baby.
Yes, exactly. I was still kind of, I was angry, to be honest, at the fact that having cancer was making decisions. It was stripping me of my decisions, having cancer.
Yeah.
And that felt very difficult. I think that's one of the hardest parts of being diagnosed with a cancer, is feeling that you don't have as much control as you thought you had. As we know in this world, we really don't have as much control as we think. But having cancer really opens your eyes to that. A, the world's not fair. And B, you really don't have as much control as you think you do in this world.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of fact. So I think that was really difficult for me, thinking, okay, this decision's been made for me. My doctors were like, well, not necessarily. You can do IVF, freeze eggs or embryos. Embryos are hardier, I guess, during the defrosting. I am not a medical person. I'm just relaying what I've been told. And so we were like, all right, let's go ahead and do that. I had the surgery like a couple weeks later, right after.
Ended up having the double mastectomy
And lymph node dissection. So they did the double mastectomy. It was, I could not keep my nipples. So they had to take my nipples just because of where the cancer, how big it was and how close it was located to the nipples. So I was not able to keep my nipples. So I have a nice scar here and a nice scar here. I got some of those nipple tattoos recently that are like temporary to like test it out. And I was like, I do miss having nipples. That looks good.
Would you consider getting them tattooed on?
100%. I've been hesitant to do it just yet because I had to do, I had double mastectomy. I did IVF. Then I had to do chemo, and then I had to do radiation. And then I did reconstruction because I had spacers in 6 months down the line from that. So about this time last year, I was recovering from reconstruction, where they took out the spacers, put in implants, did some fat grafting. Because I had radiation on my right side, my muscle and my skin are a little different on this side. And I have what they call a capture. I think that's what they call it.
Capsular contraction.
Thank you. A capsular contraction. I don't know.
It's basically like a little bit of scar tissue is formed on that side, which is more likely if you've had radiation that kind of shrink wraps all that tissue.
Yeah. So if you felt like this guy kind of soft, feels pretty normal, honestly. Like if you didn't know that I had it, you'd be like, oh, okay, that's fairly normal breast tissue. This side is like rock hard.
Okay.
So, and it's, tighter and it sits higher. So I'm kind of uneven. So I'm kind of at that point right now where I'm trying to decide, do I want to go through another reconstruction to like even them out? If I do tattoos, then they're going to be uneven. And then I'm going to have to redo the tattoos because I have to do another, surgery. So right now I'm just playing around with temporary tattoos.
I love it.
I know. They look pretty good though. I was like, oh, I have been looking like a Barbie with no nipples.
And I will say, if you're not watching the video, Alex does look like a real life Barbie.
No, I don't.
So just your chest now matches the rest of it.
Oh my God, I wish. Okay. So yeah. So, the one thing that I don't think I really said yet, but in terms of the, what do you call it? Symptoms that I noticed. So the thing that really set me off was I felt the lump. But I will say for women to think about and not take lightly, I had gone into a primary care physician for the first time in a long time. I didn't have a primary care physician because I was 33. I had 2 kids. I had an OB. I'm good.
Also, you have this like incredibly successful career. It's like, when are you going to have the time to go to the doctor? You're healthy.
Yeah. But I was like, I need to go see a primary care. I don't have one. My OB was like, you need to just have a primary care. So like September or October of that year, before I was diagnosed, before I found the lump, I went into the doctor and just to get like a physical, meet a doctor. And I brought up a few things to her and I said, I have really itchy nipples, like abnormally itchy, and a little bit of crustiness, kind of coming out of this one. And when I take my bra off, my right side nipple will like stay flat or indented, which is not normal for me. I have to like shake it out and then it pops back out. But that's not normal. But is this just because I've breastfed 2 babies and I'm a year postpartum?
Did she do a breast exam?
Just manual, but I mean, it's hard to say. It's like, okay, well, that could have grown in that much time. It wasn't huge when I found it, that I could feel, but it was inside, it was further in. So anyways,
so retrospectively, symptoms they were telling you, but also you're 33.
She was like, you just put some heavy cream on it. So in hindsight now, talking to my doctors, like those are all things that could have indicated symptoms of breast cancer. Additionally, I did have an inflamed lymph node on that side for a while, but I had been getting laser hair removal and was like, oh, it flares when I get laser hair removal.
Yeah.
No, it was cancer.
So there's so many different stages of this. First is like the diagnostic process. Then you have this big surgery. Talk about like the emotional impact of losing your breast as a young woman.
So I think prior to the surgery, I definitely had a bit of a meltdown. Was like, I'm losing my breast, the thing that make me kind of a woman in my eyes, right? Even though I did not like my boobs, they were small in my opinion.
They're nice.
I didn't love them at the time. They were pancakey after breastfeeding 2 kids. Now in hindsight, I'm like, I would love those breasts back. That'd be great. But it was an emotionally difficult thing to go through and feel like I was losing part of my identity, and then be like, okay, my husband's, is he going to be like upset that he's never going to touch boobs again,
Yeah. Like how is this going to impact
my relationship?
Marriage?
Yeah. That was really hard for me to like go through mentally. Luckily, I have an amazing husband who was like, I don't care. I'm a butt guy anyways. He was very supportive and there with me through all of it. And even now I'll be like, how do you feel about never touching a real boob again? And he's like, it's fine. Stop asking me questions. But before surgery, it was really hard. And I thought that after the surgery, I was going to look at myself and be devastated. And honestly, I wasn't, which surprised me. But I think that I was a little bit in like survivor mode.
Yeah, you're like, what are the next steps? Like, we got to keep going.
Yeah. And so weirdly enough, I like did not cry after the surgery at all. It was so weird.
At any point, did you consider seeing like a therapist through any of this?
Yes, and I probably should be doing that. I never did. I tried doing one over the phone and I didn't like it. It wasn't really a good fit. I should probably be seeing a therapist, to be honest. Time has not been in my favor. Of course, like I had every year in real estate, I've had my biggest year. I've upped my production every year. And the year that I had cancer, that still happened.
That is insane, Alex.
So I was trying not to show that I was going through this. So I just did not have the mental capacity to like seek out, because I'm going to all these doctor's appointments. I'm, doing cold capping during chemo. So I should have. I highly recommend anybody who's going through this sees somebody.
Let's spend some time on the cold capping. I know that there's a lot of evidence around it for patients who are getting certain types of chemotherapy. How painful is it? It looks incredibly painful.
It's painful the first time because your body's kind of like in shock to it. But after that, it's so weird. It's like your scalp kind of starts to get numb to it.
Okay.
And so I went to a cryotherapy session recently.
Okay.
Where you go into this, it almost feels like you're going into a spaceship, and they have the temperature really like crazy, crazy low. And the tech was like explaining how, okay, the goal is to get your body temperature down. And he goes like, the first time, it's going to feel really cold and it's going to be tough to get your body temperature down like to this ideal. But if you keep coming back, your body starts to get used to it and acclimates, and like you're going to get down here easy every time. And I was like, you know what? That's what it was like cold capping, I think, because the first time, very painful. I remember being like, if this is how every cold cap is, I won't be able to do this. But it got better and easier, and it was fine. And then at the end, it's so weird. I almost like looked forward to it because I was going through hot flashes and I was going through chemo. I started in March and I ended the end of July, so it's hot. So I was like, oh, I'm having hot flashes. I need to cool off. I need this cold cap.
Give me the cold cap.
Yeah. And so it wasn't that bad. Now I was still so happy when I was done because you're wearing it for so long. So it's only the day of chemo, but you are wearing it. So basically the way cold capping works is you've got three gel caps. They look like old-timey like football helmets, like like the leather ones. And you have to get a cooler and dry ice and you layer it. So you've got like dry ice, cold cap, dry ice, cold cap, dry ice. And then you have to take the one from the top and you put it on during your pre-meds while you're sitting there in chemo. So you wear it during your pre-meds for like 25 minutes. And then you have to change it every 25 minutes through chemo. So you start, putting it at the bottom and then you take the top and you put the next one at the bottom and you take the top every 25 minutes. You have to change it.
Is someone helping you do this?
Yes, my husband had to do it. So you can hire cold cappers who, I don't know if they volunteer their time or if they get paid. I'm not sure. You can pay for them. Now, I used a specific brand. So I used Penguin cold caps because the hospital that I went to did not have the capability to do some of the other options. So there are some brands, I think like DigniCap is one, and I can't remember the names of the other ones, where if the hospital has the technology, they'll like fit you with your own cap and they hook you up to a machine.
And it runs cool water.
And it runs this freezing water through. And so you never have to change it and you just sit there for your entire chemo, which would be nice because you might actually be able to fall asleep. I was so tired because they give you literally liquid Benadryl in a drip. And I was like really woozy. And I wanted to sleep, but I was getting woken up every 25 minutes. And then you'd have to wear it through chemo, which would be about an hour to 2 hours. And then depending on the type of chemo you got, so you would send your chemo regimen to penguin cold capping. They would then say, okay, here's your course of treatment with penguin then. Here's how long you need to wear it and what you need to do. So it could be a little bit different per
Which drugs you're getting.
Yes. So for me during Taxol, I wore it for 3 hours after I finished the chemo. So it was about a 4 to 5 hour cold cap day. And then when I did the Red Devil or the AC chemo, that's the really harsh stuff. That I had to do for 5 hours after chemo. So it was a longer day. It was really like a 6 or a 7 day cold capper day.
I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around how you're doing this and having a more successful financial year than the year prior in real estate.
Wild. I honestly am not sure, but I was just very focused on what was happening in front of me at that very moment and not really trying to think too far ahead or too far behind, because I don't know how else you can manage it all. 2 kids, chemo, work. I was just like, okay, just what's in front of me right now, one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time. I kind of tried not to work. I did my chemos on Monday because for me, Mondays is usually one of my least busy days in real estate. And I can control my appointments a lot better on Mondays. Not a lot of people want to do appointments on Mondays. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do my chemo on Monday because I can pretty much guarantee that and control that I won't have any meetings that day. And I can respond to emails as needed. And I just like won't really respond to calls, but I'll text. You know, if people have to wait 24 hours, it'll be okay. And I have a team and I have staff who were able to help me in case something needed to happen immediately that day. So I was able to kind of, for the most part, not do too much work on Mondays. A lot of times I would do like afternoon chemos so that I could work in the morning if I needed to. And then I could kind of take the rest of the day off because you've got this cold cap on, you're changing it every 25 minutes, you have a headache. I wasn't going to be able to do much like thinking. So watched a lot of TV while I did the cold capping. But after that, it was like pretty normal for the rest of the week. And I feel very lucky that the rest of the week, for the most part, I didn't feel too much side effect of the chemo. I was able to operate very normally for the most part. And I had help. My mom and my sister, my whole family came in for my surgery, and we all watched the Super Bowl together. Everybody's staying in our house. It was just like, everybody was there. My aunt came in, like everybody was there for a week.
Okay.
And I'm like, the Super Bowl happens. I'm like jumping up and down. I'm on all these pain meds. I'm feeling good. My husband's like, you need to sit down because I have like drains coming out. I had 2 drains on each side, you know? So anyways, it was kind of beautiful to see how people show up for you and who really cares and who loves you. It's almost difficult to accept that much love. I learned. And I learned that even if you think, oh, you know, somebody in your life is going through something and you're like, they just want their privacy. They want to be left alone. No, they don't. No, they don't.
Why do you say that?
Because when you're that person, it is so hard to ask for help. So you kind of stay silent and to yourself. And you might kind of not want to talk, but you still want to be supported, and to have people show up without you having to ask for it is like the most beautiful. It's I don't know how to explain it. It's like the most beautiful thing because you don't want to ask for it, but people are still there.
Yeah.
And like our friend Maggie, she came for a week and stayed with me for a week.
She's amazing.
I don't even have words to describe what that meant to me, because I'm going to start crying now. To have a friend like that is so rare. I mean, you know, Maggie, God. I'm so lucky to have so many very true friends, and I had all of that friend group showed up big time for me. They were there. They had a meal train. My sister showed up beyond comprehension. My family showed up for the first week after my surgery. I couldn't pick up my kids for 6 weeks. I couldn't do anything for 6 weeks, which was hard with a 1-year-old who is a mama's boy,
Yeah.
and a 3-year-old who's going through big emotions. And I'm trying not to traumatize them.
So did you tell Sophia that you were sick? She was 3 at the time.
Not really, but they ask questions. So it's like they be like, why you got boo-boos, mama? And I'm like, oh, mommy was sick, but she's getting better. I'm not going to give them the whole,
Yeah.
mommy has cancer and, you might die. So it was very just baseline because they're so young.
Okay.
And I think that they could sense that there was something going on, but I didn't cry in front of them. And I, we just kept it very like base level with them, and their lives were pretty normal. And if anything, their lives were better because they had all these people around who loved them and that they loved, that they got all this extra time with that they wouldn't have had. So it was cool. I was trying to be there during bedtime, but I just couldn't pick them up. I was like, sometimes I'd be like, can you just put the kids on my lap for just a minute?
Yeah.
And even now though, Charlie will be like, can I see your boo-boos, mama? And I'm like, you can't just go around asking women to see their boo-boos. I hope you understand this. Cause he like associates like boo-boos with boobs and, and I tried to not completely hide it and be like, sure, yes, these are my boo-boos. You can't touch them, but yeah, mommy's like, you got to be careful. Mommy has all this going on. So it was an interesting time for sure.
You've mentioned so much about your husband and his like just being there helping with everything. How do you think all of this has changed your marriage?
Oh, it's definitely made us stronger. I can see how it could be difficult for some people.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I don't know what the statistic is, but I'm pretty sure there's a statistic out there that basically says if you've gone through something like this, like cancer or something traumatic, the death of a child, whatever, it increases the chances of divorce, actually, which is shocking. But also I can kind of understand because it's a difficult thing to go through personally. And I think that it would be easy to shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And be detached and not let people in, or to not blame for what happened, but like blame in other ways, So I could kind of see that, and I've seen it not work out before for other people that I know, which is really sad. But for me, my husband was there for everything. I mean, he was there every single chemo. He cooked dinner through all of that. I didn't cook. I still don't cook. I don't cook. But he was amazing. So supportive, never complained about my family being around as much as they were. He worked still through all of it too. He didn't take any leave, but he still managed to be there. And he was a fantastic dad.
Now in medical school, they teach us that this is like a stereotype, but when people get diagnosed with something horrible like breast cancer or are faced with the potential of dying, you go through these like stages of emotions like denial, anger, bargaining, grief. When you now think back to that whole like treatment time in your life, what emotion do you remember the most vividly?
Anger. Oh, for sure. I mean, I still think I'm angry sometimes.
And you mentioned that life's not fair. It's just anger about your diagnosis.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has changed my life forever in the way that, it robs time from me for a couple of years while my kids were young. I was angry about that. To not be able to be quite the mom I would have liked to have been.
Yeah.
And not to have the energy that I had. And obviously, it's interesting. I do feel like you go through grief during this process. Like you're grieving your old self. You're grieving your breasts. You're grieving the life that you thought you were going to have that you might not have. Whether that's because you're fearing death or just the way your life is going to be different.
That loss of control.
Yes.
You're like, I had my life planned. We were on this path and I was derailed.
It so felt like a car crash, like everything. And the complete stopping of your life and then having to completely try and reimagine it and be like, okay, well, what happens if it doesn't go well and I die? Like, how do I want to be remembered? What am I going to tell my kids? How do I live the rest of my life?
What has all of this taught you about yourself, your strength, your resilience, the just grit that you have?
You can handle more pressure than you think. At the end of the day, every year, I feel like I'm surprised at what I'm able to handle, and it doesn't stress me out as much as I thought. When you're younger, I feel like everything feels hard.
Everything's a big deal.
Everything's a big deal. Everything feels hard. And like the more experiences that you go through and the more that you can handle, it's like, okay, well, the next year you could handle that same amount on your plate and it wouldn't feel as difficult because you've been through it. You've experienced it now, right? So now I'm just kind of like, I mean, what's really a big deal, right?
You're like, try me.
Yeah, it's definitely some perspective. I think that I almost have less patience for BS these days because I'm just like, no, this doesn't matter. And I'm not going to deal with it. And I'm not going to let it ruin, my day.
Yeah. Yeah. You talked a little bit about speaking to other women who are going through the same thing that you've been through. What advice do you give them? I mean, how do you kind of use the horrible stuff that you've gone through to help them?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost cathartic in a way, I think, to be able to help somebody go through what you've been through. And for me, I remember going through it and not knowing anybody my age who had gone through this.
You shared everything online after you finished treatment. Did you have the sense all along that you would eventually tell everybody? What went into your decision to start posting and sharing?
Yes, I feel like I've always been a really open and honest person. I'm pretty outgoing.
Very outgoing.
Yeah. And I always want to help people if I can. But when I was first diagnosed, at first I thought, should I share this? And then I decided not to. And then I thought, I'm just going to wait and see how it goes. But I figured once I was at the point where I knew how I was going to, how things were going to progress, that I'd be willing to share. I think until I knew what my stage was and what my prognosis was, what my treatment plan was, and how I was going to react to it, I just wasn't ready to share it yet.
Well, Alex, I can't tell you thank you enough for being here today. I really admire so many, you being a mom, business owner, killing it in real estate, everything that you've shared, and you've helped so many other women. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning into Fem MD. And remember, the world belongs to the women who question it. Today's episode is brought to you by the Hippocratic Collective. Check out our shows and content at hippocratic-collective.com.